Did you know that most independent musicians have a gold mine in their business that they're walking past and ignoring every single day? Because it's easy to get distracted with all the myriad of different things we're told we should focus on. Like, oh, I gotta go build a website. Oh, I gotta have an EPK. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. And it's just so overwhelming. But it's not focusing on the systems that are actually going to get you an income as an artist, right? We often forget, like, focusing on content, for example, is super important. It's super cool. But we forget what content is there to do. It's ultimately there to get people to be so excited about us that they're willing to join our email list. I know some people are like, do people still open emails? Is that still a viable marketing strategy? It's not only still a viable marketing strategy, it stood the test of time and still has, according to HubSpot, a 36-to-1 ROI. Think about that. For every dollar that most businesses spend on email marketing, they make 36 back. That is astonishing. But a lot of musicians are ignoring it because it seems like old technology or old hat. Well, really, this is one of your best methods to not only connect with your fans, but actually get them to support you and buy your things, not just streaming the music and hopefully getting a good royalty check after they've listened to 20,000 streams. You know what I'm saying? Per person. You have to actually set up a system that drives revenue. And a lot of people forget that content, for example, serves the purpose of feeding the email machine, right? That's the whole purpose of content. Is cool. I have people who are aware of me and know about me, but you have a lot of people that have attention and no influence. So when you get people into your email list, you can create the connections necessary to have influence over your fans so that when you want them to go stream the newest thing that's out on Spotify, you can directly drive them to it from your email list. The next time you've got a show in their area, you can directly drive them to the ticket links. If you have a new merchandise bundle or offer or an item that you just want them to pre-order, you can directly contact them. Where social media has all these algorithms and filters and things that actually prevent us from connecting to our fans. So it's a mistake for us to ignore email because it is the vehicle that is going to give you the most direct connection to your fans and ability for them to support you, okay? So that's what we need to understand. And in the rest of this video, I actually want to share with you, what do you send to people who get into this thing? Because I know some of you have some emails that have been sitting around and you've got them on a database or something, on a MailChimp account maybe, and you've got them, you've been collecting them, but you don't really know what to do with them. It's like, what do I send these people? And some of you, I had to explain that in the intro. Hey, this is important. Pay attention to this. Start building this list, because if you do, the return on investment based on statistics done, from tons of companies, probably like 1 million different companies, 36-to-1 ROI is pretty dang good. So let's jump into the 3 little email sequences that I stack on top of each other, back to back, that has created thousands of dollars of profit for my own personal clients and musicians that have been implementing this. So the first thing that we need to understand is this golden sequence, as I like to call it, starts out with a welcome sequence. So what does that mean? When a fan very first joins your email list, you want to introduce them to the email newsletter community. You want to have some way to welcome them. This needs to happen instantaneously, by the way. This needs to be an automated thing. If you're doing this manually, God bless you. Don't do that anymore, though. What you can do is set it up to where as soon as they join, it automatically sends them this email. But then the question comes up, which is the whole purpose of this video. What do I send them? Okay. Now, I know what a lot of people think. I know what a lot of people do, because I've looked at like thousands of artists' email lists at this point. You start to see the statistic. Why did I say you like Bill Cosby? You! Anyway. You have a 60% increase in people that open that very first email compared to the rest of the emails that you're going to send people. So people that have gotten into the email game have gotten like, okay, so if more people are going to open that very first email that I send them, shouldn't I send them a way to support me? Because that way, more eyeballs have seen it, there's more chances for someone to buy it, and if I have a big list, that's just a bigger volume of people that have seen the offer. Makes sense, right? It's very rational. Except human beings aren't always rational. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's good in theory, but in practice, that's usually not how it works. Because think about it if you were on the receiving end of that. As soon as you join an email list, you're sold something. What does that remind you of? Every other email list you've ever joined ever. You're up at, any restaurant or any like commodity or retail shop, and you're just sitting there like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll put in your email and you get a $5 off coupon and blah, blah. People have been bombarded with this kind of coupon $5 off deal thing so much that you really just blend in with the noise and just become more noise. So don't immediately go for the sale. Don't immediately do that when people join. That's a huge mistake people are making. So what do we do to actually flip this and make it more profitable in the long run if we're not going to sell something immediately? Here's what we do. Crazy concept. We give something away for free. We give fans value for free. Now, why do we do that? Well, it's kind of a cool thing. One, like if you joined an email list and you're expecting to get sold the $5 off, 25% off coupon or whatever, but instead an artist gives you something of value for free, now it's kind of a different vibe, right? Now the guard is down. You've sort of disarmed them a little bit because they're going to come in with their guard up. Like, all right, is this artist just going to sell me a bunch of stuff like everybody else who I've ever given my email address to? And if you go, no, I'm trying to build a community here. So here's some free stuff to kind of help you come into the community. Here's an acoustic version of a song. Here's a free MP3 download of a rare B-side. Or, you start throwing in some cool things, some rare bonuses, and maybe like video performances of you performing your newest track, or a behind-the-scenes documentary that's like 7 minutes long of you just talking about how your song came together. There's these things that you give away for free so that the warm and hot fans, the fans who know you, like you, and are all about you, can join it, and they're given something of value to them that they're like, oh, this is awesome. I love this. Now, this is engaging a psychological trigger called reciprocity, right? There's been tons of studies that have shown, like, for example, if you ever go to a car lot, and you're going to buy a car, and we all know car salesmen, they've got all the sales tricks in the book they like to throw out there, right? But they studied this one phenomena that was used all the time in car dealerships, which is they would have someone go, hey, welcome into the dealership, can I get you a Coke or anything like that? The reason they want you to say yes, like, yeah, I'll get you the Coke, yeah, I'll get you the water, yeah, I'll get you the Snickers, yeah, I'll get you the whatever, is because of that reciprocity. And they found that if, it's like if I hold the door open for you and then you walk through, you have this urge to want to hold the next little door open for me, right? That happens all the time. That's human reciprocity at work. Now, what these salespeople found out is that what you give them does not have to be one-to-one in value with what you ask from them, and that person will still feel that obligation of reciprocity. Now, please don't hear what I'm telling you and think what I'm actually saying is, it doesn't matter what you give them, just give them crap, and it doesn't really matter because in the end, you're engaging in reciprocity and whatever. That's not how you look at this, right? I mean, you could do that, but I don't think it's going to work out very well because, again, I think you have to do this with your fans' best interest at heart and actually trying to give them value. So whenever they join, I engage reciprocity by thinking, what is something they would actually find really cool? Like, what's something that would really get them into our world and just be super entertaining for them? Let's give it away for free. And so that way they come in, they're just like, oh, this is so cool. And now I've built a bond with somebody a little bit more, right? I've built it a little bit deeper because I'm not just asking and asking and asking. I already made the ask to get them to join the email list. I kind of want to simmer on the asking. So it's like, okay, hey, can you please join my email list? You don't want to sound that desperate, right? But then they finally join. You don't want to just keep asking. You want to give some more now. So that's what we do. We start engaging in reciprocity by giving away something for free. And if we do ever ask them to take an action, it's something for free. Like, hey, if you haven't gone and followed us on one of these social media platforms, click the button and go follow the one that you're missing, right? Because everyone's like, it's like a collect them all Pokemon type of psychology, right? You want to make sure that I can collect all of the follows on all of the different platforms. I want to pick the one that I don't have, and then you can even incentivize the people who are following all the platforms. Like, if you're following all of them, reply, I'm awesome to this email. And that way they're like, I'm awesome, and it just kind of helps reinstate to them that like, oh yeah, I'm a part of this community. I'm one of the best ones. And then when you reply to them, that helps boost their status because you've actually engaged with them. And they can say, yeah, like, I've gotten a personal email from this artist. Really great stuff here. Now, the second sequence, by the way, how long does that sequence last? It could be 1 or 2 emails. I don't really like to go much longer than that nowadays. I used to do 3 emails where, the first email we asked them to go follow on socials. The next email we asked them to go stream. And then the next email we asked them to buy something. That worked, but this works better. So I like to keep it short and sweet, do 1 to 2 emails where we just give them the value, and then maybe day 2 is just, hey, did you check out that email yesterday? For the people who didn't open. So next sequence that you got to do, the origin sequence. This is a really important one that a lot of musicians sometimes think won't make that big of a difference, but I've been told time after time from my clients who implement this, the messages they get from their fans when they send out these email sequences. I've had a couple recently where people would respond to the emails of the origin sequence emails and be like, this totally resonates with me. Like, thank you for sharing this. Imagine giving your fans that kind of joy and like clarity and perspective where they just feel the need to email you and be like, thank you for sending this. And again, you've asked for nothing. This is all just giving value and getting people into our world. Now, what is an origin story comprised of? Because we have to be very careful. A lot of musicians are like, oh, so I tell my origin sequence. Or I tell my origin story. So I started out as a musician when I was 8, and then I did this, and then I got a guitar, and then I did this, and then it just rambles. No. Do not do that. You don't want this encyclopedia entry of an email. Now, granted, it can be a long email. It doesn't have to be a super short email, but it can't be like this 18-page magnus opus. It needs to be broken up in kind of a fun way. So I'll tell you this right now. Break this story up of your journey from you falling in love with music to right now sending them an email in their inbox. Document that journey over 3 or 4 emails. It depends on how long you've been doing this, right? So I have some people where they could break their journey up from 2010 to 2015, 2015 to 2020, and then 2020 to 2025, right? So just 3 epochs, and that's their whole journey, right? That naturally lends itself to a 3 email origin story sequence. If you've been doing this since you were a kid and there's been crazy things happening where you have more there, then maybe you have to do 4 emails to tell the story. But the idea here is you're doing something very specific. You're not just telling your story. You're asking questions in those emails. I call these ECQs, emotionally connective questions, okay? Ask questions that get them to go in their mind and feel an emotion, right? We're trying to build rapport via empathy, okay? Now, just because someone has not lived the one-to-one experience that you have lived does not mean that they cannot feel rapport and empathy through what you've gone through, as long as you generalize the emotion, okay? For example, let's say you discovered a band when you were 15 years old, right? Instead of saying I discovered Linkin Park when I was 15 years old. Do you remember what it was like when you first heard Linkin Park? Some people will be like, yeah, I totally remember when I heard Linkin Park for the first time. But some people may be like, oh, I'm not really that into Linkin Park. So you see that can create the experience for the reader where some people will go, yeah, whatever, yeah, not really. So what you need to do is make it more generalized. So instead of saying I discovered Linkin Park when I was 15 and it made me want to be a musician. Do you remember what it was like when you heard Linkin Park for the first time? Instead of doing that, you can say, hey, do you remember what it's like to discover that band that just made you fall in love with music right now? They'd be like, oh yeah, I do remember what that was like. It wasn't Linkin Park, but it was this one artist. And then they start going in their memory, in their head, and start thinking of all of those different artists that triggered that for them, where they started to feel that connection to music. And you got them to go into that state of mind because you asked questions. You asked some ECQs, some emotionally connective questions. So you basically, what I do, if you want to know the behind the scenes pro tip, I don't really think of the ECQs until I'm done writing the origin story. So I'll write the origin story as dramatic and engaging as I can possibly make it, still within the context of this is somebody sending me an email. So there is I'll do LOLs, and sometimes I won't do proper punctuation at the end of sentences or whatever. I'll do that kind of thing. But the whole idea here is that I'm building out the story and then I go plug in those questions. Like I'll sit there and go, is there an opportunity to get someone to connect there? Okay, I keep reading. Is there an opportunity to get, okay, I can ask that question there. Like I described an event that has some emotional weight to it. Let me ask the question right after that sentence that gets them to feel the weight of that emotion of the story that I'm telling them, right? So I'll go back and plug those ECQs in. Now, why are we doing this? Why are we telling our origin story? Well, it builds rapport. It gets the audience to know more about you so that when you're actually putting more music out there, they may start seeing correlations between the story you've told them and the music you've released. Meaning they're starting to like connect the dots, and it's sort of fun for them where they're like, oh, whoa, he told me this story about what they went through on that thing. So that song is probably about that. And like all these connections, these like hyperlinked cross references in their brain start happening. And it really deepens their love and connection because they're like getting into the lore of you, if that makes sense. So we're doing it for rapport, but we're also doing it for a very specific reason, which is to position yourself for this offer that we're going to eventually sell. Why are we doing that? Because we want to get the fan to consume this story so that in their head, they view themselves in one of two ways. They're the person who's in the stands cheering you on as you're about to hit the game-winning field goal, right? That's the emotional state we're trying to use our stories to get them into by the end of this sequence. They're like, wow, you've gone through so many trials and tribulations. This is the greatest underdog story I've ever heard of. I want you to succeed. Ah! And they've got the, the towels and they're swinging it and they've got the cheese block head hats. No, I'm just kidding. Shout out to all of my Wisconsin people out there. I could tell a bunch of stories about times we played in Wisconsin and dealt with some of that great accent. Yeah, I love it. Oh, yeah, oofta. Maybe that's more of a Minnesotan thing. Drop it in the comments. Wisconsin is oofta. Is that more Minnesota, or do you guys also say oofta? For those of you that don't know, that's like an onomatopoeia of northern, dialect. Okay. Now, we're positioning ourselves in such a way that when we ask for money, fundamentally, is what we're going to be doing. Hey, can I get some money and I'll send you a t-shirt? Can I get some money and I'll send you blah, blah, blah? Whenever we get to that point, we want them to be on our side. And we want the offer to feel like the next logical thing that needs to happen for them in the context of the story that's being told. You see what I'm saying? Where we're telling the origin story in such a way that by day 3 or day 4, we've built this kind of ravenous fever of like, yeah, you've gone through so much, that's so cool. And we get them to basically adopt as a part of their identity being a supporter and member of your community. That's insanely important because when you do that, that does the marketing in such a way that you do not have to sell as hard. That's the beauty. If you get the marketing done right, the pre-frame and everything up to the sale right, the sale can happen actually very naturally without a lot of pressure. But there are still tactics we'll talk about in the sales sequence. So those are the 3 points of why we need to go into the origin story sequence. We need to give some value, and provide rapport via empathy, asking those emotionally connected questions. Position ourselves for when this offer comes up, it doesn't feel like, here comes another artist selling me something. It feels like, whoa, I've adopted this identity as like a supporter of this artist, and I want them to succeed, and all this great stuff, right? Then comes the third sequence. That is the sales sequence. We have to have a core product offer that we pretty much want all of our fans to buy, and we're going to sell them that thing, okay? So what do we do when we're selling it? Like I talked about, the frame, how we've been setting everything up, the positioning is extremely important. So what I like to use frame-wise, there's many frames you could use, but one of my favorite ones to use and teach people is, this is the best way to support us. So what does that mean? That means whenever a fan is getting presented this offer, you don't necessarily always want to present it as like, look how awesome this offer is. It's so cool. Look at it. Bar. You want to come at it with this perspective of like, listen, I know you've probably heard that Spotify is kind of screwing artists as far as what they pay us royalty-wise, and it's not getting any better. But there is something fans like you can do to actually ensure that we can put out more music and keep this going, right? Because without you, we're nothing. Again, the positioning is very like, we're not trying to tell you anything. We're just like, hey, this is a fact of the music business, is that without fan support, musicians can't stick around. And so we wanted to actually share with you a way that's the best way to ensure that we can keep releasing music that you love, right? The way to do that is, here's our offer, right? So click the link, go check it out. And if you want to, you can have the landing page sell more than the email. So the email can be kind of short and sweet, like, hey, we put together something so cool for you guys to help guarantee that we can continue to make more awesome music for you. So just click the link and check it out, and then reply to this email and let us know what you love about it. Then what you can do on the other side of that is you could explain more of it in the email, right? So you could tell a little bit more detail of like, it would actually take you, for example, if you're selling something like, let's say you're doing like a hoodie bundle with something and it's like $67, right? You could say it would actually take you 22,333 streams to equal one of these merch bundles. So if you really want the best way to support us, if you're a true diehard member of this community, you need to go ahead and pick this up. And that's sort of the thing is, one, the frame is really important. We want them to almost view this as an initiation into the community. Like everyone else has one, you need to make sure that you join us and have this as well. So that's kind of the positioning that we're doing there. But I also want you to think about this. You need to create an offer that's pretty irresistible for your fan base. This is where a lot of musicians struggle because they haven't done a lot of thought in offer creation. This is a place that your creativity can really shine if you let it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you could start to let your mind get creative as to what things you can offer your fans, you can come up with some really cool stuff. Especially like in the fan club, / Patreon type stuff. I think you can really have a lot of fun there. But think about it like this. What is something that is such a good offer that they would feel stupid if they said no to it? You know what I'm saying? Like, position it in a way where you're saying, like, we've actually found a way to put this offer together where this actually gives us the most return, and so that we can actually invest in studio time and do that. Like, you can position it in a way where they understand they're not getting one over on you because you've priced it in a way that's like still better than Spotify and beneficial for you. But still, to them, it almost feels like they're about to take advantage of you. Like I've had people, whenever we're doing offers, some of the most common offers that we do to get people into the email list that are of quality is a free plus shipping offer, because that's a buying lead as opposed to a cold lead who just gave you their email, right? And I've been like, okay, so we'll take your CD and we'll sign it and then we'll give it away for free and you'll just profit on the handling. And they're like, oh, but like, I could usually sell these things for like $20, but I'm giving it away for free now. I'm like, that's how you know it's a good offer. It's because you're a little bit hesitant. And that's the other thing too, is we could talk about the value of CDs in a marketplace, the value that artists wish it was versus what fans are willing to pay for it. But the whole point of it is a good offer kind of makes you go like, should we charge a little bit more for this? You know what I'm saying? Like, man, it's a hoodie and a t-shirt and a coffee mug. That should be like $80, but we're charging like $67, $70 for it. Like, we should be charging more. That's how you know you've got a good offer, because you'll know that as long as you've done your numbers right and you know how much it costs to, manufacture an item, or maybe you're doing print by demand. There's a little less margin when you're doing print by demand, but you can factor it in, figure out exactly what you need to price things at so that you have a decent margin per sale. And that's really one of those things too, where it's like, even if you're making like $15 per sale on a relatively, like I say, it's a $55 offer and you're only making $15. Imagine how long it would take you to get $15 from Spotify, right? And then that's the thing too, is in my opinion, you shouldn't just have one offer. You should take this golden sequence, and once you get to the end of it, you should figure out ways to tack on more stories and more offers. But this is the first thing that every musician can build, is the welcome, the origin, and the sales sequence, right? And there's ways that like I take my clients through it and build like extra persuasion tactics into it. So if that's something that you're actually interested in learning, you can click the link that's in the description to book a one-on-one call to see if it'd be a good fit, if we could actually help you out. But otherwise, if you got a lot of value from this video and you feel like a little bit more confident as to what to send your email list, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, all that kind of good YouTube-y stuff. And I look forward to seeing you on another video inside of Musicians Ignite. Take care.